Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katie.
And my name is Lexi.
We are educators here at the Stone Zoo, and today we're focusing on all things slimy and scaly. If you have any questions about the creepy crawlies we are about to meet, please feel free to ask them in the comment section of this video, and we will do our best to answer them throughout the course of our chat. So we're going to start with our scaly friends. We have Thor and Freya here, and they are Madagascar hissing cockroaches. So we'll take a look at our Madagascar hissing cockroach colony right now as we talk about them, and this way you can see them up close. So a lot of people don't like bugs, and my goal today is to change your mind even a little bit and to teach you a little bit about the amazing things that bugs and hissing cockroaches can do for us. So this species of cockroach is not one that you're going to find here in Massachusetts. This is not the species that you might see in your home or outside if you're gardening. This species is endemic, meaning that they are only found in one place, and that is the island of Madagascar. So they would not survive a New England winter. It is much too cold for them during our winters. They need a lot of humidity and high temperatures to survive. So they do live in a climate-controlled setting here at the zoo, so they are able to survive our winters. So this species, they live in Madagascar, and they are found commonly on the forest floor. So right along the forest floor of the rainforest in Madagascar, and you'll see that the coloring on their body is going to help them blend in to a dark and shady understory. So their coloring ranges from black to different shades of brown, and that's for camouflage because there are a lot of animals living in the rainforest, a lot of potential predators, so that's going to help them stay nice and safe. Now these cockroaches do have another really special ability. If you were thinking about their name, you might have guessed it. They can hiss. So if you think of other animals that might hiss, like a cat or a snake, that hiss is going to be a warning to predators. Hey, don't mess with me. I could be really scary. You should stay away from me. Those other species are going to hiss with their mouths, but cockroaches are actually going to hiss with their backs. It's really tough to see, but along the outside of their abdomen, they have these really small little holes, and those holes are called spiracles. And that's actually how these cockroaches breathe, by releasing air out of those spiracles. When they release the air very quickly out of those spiracles, that's going to produce a hissing noise and hopefully keep any predators away. So they will do that if they're feeling threatened. Now, they do have predators, but they also have an important role besides just being food in their ecosystem. So these cockroaches are decomposers. It is their job to go through the forest floor and to eat all of the old, dead, and decaying material that accumulates in the rainforest. So they're kind of like the gardeners of the rainforest. They'll go along, they will break down all of that rotten fruit and old leaves and other gross things that other animals don't want, and they're going to poop it right out. We like to call them super poopers. Their poop is full of nutrients and vitamins that are really great for soil quality, helping more plants and trees to grow in the rainforest. And there are a lot of reasons why we want more plants and trees growing in the rainforest. And some of those are, it provides more habitat and shelter for other species, more food sources for those animals, and we as humans get around half of the oxygen we need to breathe from rainforests around the world. So these little bugs are actually helping us breathe. Now I know a lot of people are grossed out about them. You will not find them in your home. This species is really beneficial to humans, but to lots of other animal species that might be a little fuzzier, a little bit cuter, but I think they're very cute in their own way. And one last thing I do want to teach all of you is how to tell males and females apart. It's actually really easy with this species. So Thor, on the right-hand side, you might notice he has 2 large bumps right on top of his back there. And those are called horns. Just like a rhino might have horns or goats might have horns, males in this species also have horns, and they will use those to fight other males. They are territorial. They might fight over territory, but also over females. And then you can see Freya right here. She does not have any horns. Her back is nice and flat, and that's how we can tell them apart when they are older. And if you're watching and you have some good eagle eyes, you might notice they have some little things crawling all over them. That is actually a beneficial mite species that lives just on these cockroaches, so they won't stick to my hands after. I don't have to worry about anything. And these little mites are going to go in and out of the little folds of their exoskeleton, cleaning up any dirt or debris and keeping our cockroaches nice and clean and healthy, which is really good because they can live a long time. In human care, this species can live 2 to 5 years, which is a lot longer than most other species of insects. And I can tell you, when I started working at the zoo, they asked me if I was uncomfortable being around any animals, and I said the cockroaches. I would not go anywhere near them. And after learning more about them and getting to hold them and really experience what these cockroaches are like, I can tell you that they are now one of my all-time favorite animals to work with. And I could make this zoo to you 2 hours long just talking about cockroach facts. But I'm going to spare you all of my cockroach knowledge, and we're going to move over to Lexi, who has some slimy animals for us to see.
Alrighty, so you guys can come on over here with me, and we are going to check in on our magnificent tree frogs. These guys are also known as splendid tree frogs, and while we are watching them, I'm actually going to give them their food for today. So we got some crickets for them. So we have 7 splendid tree frogs in here, and they are 4 years old. Their 5th hatch day actually is coming up on November 15th. And since we have 7, of course, we named them after the 7 dwarves. We've got Sneezy, Grumpy, Bashful, Dopey, and Happy. So they were born at the Los Angeles Zoo and Botanical Gardens, and they came here to the Stone Zoo in early 2017, and they can live around 20 years. Since they're nice and up close, you've got a really good view of those colors on them. So they can be like an olive to bright green color. They've got white or yellow spots on their back. They've got really bright yellow feet, and they've got white bellies. These guys are native to Northwest Australia, and they really love a nice, damp, wet environment. So even though they're called tree frogs, they actually don't live in the trees too much. You can most commonly find them around rocks and caves and in just really dark, small, damp places. But what's really interesting is you actually can find them around people sometimes. So in Australia, people might actually find them near their water tanks, their showers, their toilets, their sinks. And around times of the year when water is a little bit scarce, people are actually more than happy to kind of share their space with them. I don't know about you, Katie, but I don't necessarily know how I'd feel doing my dishes and having a frog staring back at me.
Maybe not the dishes, but I'd be okay with them hanging out in the bathroom, I think.
That's totally fair. So behind their heads, kind of like where their neck is, they actually have a large fluid-filled sac, and that is a poison gland. So this actually can deter any predators by making them smell and taste really, really bad. However, this poison would not affect people at all, which I found really interesting. So if an animal were to ingest these types of frogs in the wild, that poison would make them really, really sick. That's how poison works. When you eat something poisonous, it makes you sick. But something that people most commonly wonder is why we don't handle these frogs. And it has nothing to do with that poison, actually. We don't handle our frogs without a glove on because frogs can actually absorb oils and waters and things through their skin. So we wouldn't want any oils or anything that's maybe not super good for them to get through their skin. So some of the predators that could be trying to go after them would be things like snakes and birds and other things like that. And you probably guessed it based off of their lunch here today. They eat lots of crickets here at the zoo. They are mostly nocturnal, so they, in the wild, would be spending a lot of time at night going out and hunting for things like worms and bugs and spiders. But this is around the time of day that they're used to being fed, so they are awake and ready for those afternoon crickets. I'm hoping that maybe while we were tuning in and watching, we were able to see their eyeballs really squish into their heads while they were eating those crickets. This is a really unique adaptation to frogs where when their eyeballs are so large that when they swallow their food, their eyeballs press into their skulls, and that creates this pressure that ends up helping to push that food down into their throat. Rachel, did we have any questions come in during our chat?
Someone said they were surprised how long they live. Can you remind us what their lifespan was?
Absolutely, yeah. So their lifespan is around 20 years. And they are almost 5 years old.
And let's see. See this little guy perched on a pumpkin here. Can you talk about like the enrichment that we give them and if they like to interact with that a lot?
Absolutely. So this is probably one of our favorite enrichment kind of times of the year. We really love spooky stuff here in education. And so in here, in their exhibit specifically, we have got a pumpkin. It is not a real pumpkin. It is made of plastic. And we have actually taken some of their substrate from their enclosure and put it inside that pumpkin. And maybe some of you might remember earlier in my chat, I was mentioning how they really love small, dark, damp spaces. And so they love interacting with places like this. Of course, there's no one in it right now. However, if we came back tomorrow, there probably would be. We also have a little plastic skull over in the back as well. And before we actually started this video, there was a frog perched on top of it. I know he's not there anymore, but I swear he was there.
Katie, MT was wondering about the roaches, if they can climb into windows.
The roaches cannot climb into windows. They are not found here in Massachusetts. They're actually a rainforest species, so they're probably not climbing into too many windows in the rainforest, but maybe climbing under some dead and decaying logs on the forest floor instead.
Okay, well I think we're about out of time. I'm gonna wrap it up.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to today's Zoo to You with some of our creepy crawlies here at the Stone Zoo. We hope you have a super spooky rest of your October, and we will see you next time. Bye.